Hello, hello, folks. Welcome. Today's episode introduces writer, producer, filmmaker Curt Crane, who is a team member of a fantastic free mobile app created to help everyday people join the fight against climate change. Hi. Ozzy Stewart welcomes you to the Season 9 segment of Hard Issues. Thank you for tuning in. On this episode, I'm shining light on Curt Crane, writer, producer, director of TV commercials, corporate communications, streaming media, and feature films, and his impact on the hard issue of climate change through a consumer-friendly mobile app is what we're going to be discussing. So please like, follow, share, all that stuff. Drop a comment. Support via our donate, store, and members pages. Now, Curt Crane. As I said before, Curt Crane is a writer, producer, director with more than 30 years of experience in developing, creating, producing TV commercials, corporate communications, streaming media, and feature-length films. He created Curt Crane Productions, Inc. in New Jersey, where he grew up playing garage band rock and roll, hanging out around horses and failing algebra, he says several times. After high school, he survived 7 years of hanging around the professional rodeo circuit riding bulls, ultimately landing at Rutgers University, where he earned an English degree, and he then became a freelance writer and soon writing for the ad business, eventually becoming an agency creative director before moving on to the film production side of the business. Now, he has directed, produced, written, and co-written projects for a wide variety of well-known national, international, and regional names, including DirecTV, Motorola, New York Life, AIG, BASF, NASCAR, Geisinger. He's also created notable pro bono work for MADD, M-A-D-D, the American Cancer Society, the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, and many others. Along the way, he has worked with film, TV, music stars such as Taylor Swift. As he said, we shot her first TV commercial. We'll talk about that later. Inside the call. Anyway. All right. He has also worked with sports stars as well as animals and children. That's not easy. Along with directing and producing political initiative spots on national and statewide issues such as healthcare reform and gaming. Under Coyote Pictures, Inc., Curt creates, develops, produces entertainment-based projects, including feature films and made-for-TV programming, such as Postcards from Paradise Park and Drifting on the Moon. Client recommendations or descriptions include smart, approachable, the real deal. He's the most likable curmudgeon with whom you'll ever work. The consummate professional delivering beyond expectations. The final result is always better than when I wrote it. He brings so much value, expertise, humor, creativity, enthusiasm, clarity, dedication, professionalism, and just plain fun to work with. He always brings something to the table and helps to make our ideas come to life while finding ways to make them better. Lastly, and it's not the only one, his sense of humor makes every project more fun, though he's very serious about delivering. He also belongs to a group which created a free mobile app designed to help everyday people do their part in the fight against what has become the most immediate existential threat to our existence. The app is on one's smartphone. It's easy to use and continually updating, offering an innovative new way to raise funds for their organization or yours, while getting everyone involved in helping to save our planet. The name of the app is called Greenie, Greenie. You can follow them at Instagram at Greenie App, GREENIEAPP. So, Curt, I'm going to go back in time. What inspired you to become writer, producer, director? Where did that come from?
That just, you always kind of back into that somehow. I didn't start out that way. I started out when I finally went to college and learned that I could write a little bit. I was a freelance writer.
Right.
So yeah, I used to pick up jobs for the newspapers and some of the magazines. And eventually I found that the way to make a steady income was to write advertising. So I became a copywriter, and then for ad agencies, and then a creative director, and got involved with it. But I think my heart was really in getting into the production side of it, the directing part of it. So ultimately it's...
So which project that you've worked on still is one of your favorites?
Well, I worked primarily in commercials.
Right.
There's just so many of them.
Or was it more working with a particular client?
Yeah, I had a very loyal core group of agencies that used to hire me, creative directors at agencies that became good friends. And I think, and it was a small group, and we worked together for years, maybe 2 or 3 different agencies, creative directors. So I always welcomed projects from them because I knew we were compatible.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about your involvement with the politics and political initiative spots?
Very early on in politics, I had a mentor that was a political filmmaker. He went all the way back to the Jimmy Carter days, and he worked both sides of the aisle, strangely enough. And we actually had office space. We had a building together on Pine Street in Philadelphia, an old brownstone. And he brought me in, and it was fascinating. I also worked both sides of the aisle back in the days when everyone was a little more civil with each other, and you could do that. And you certainly learn a lot from working both sides of the road. I mean, I worked, I can remember my earliest political stuff was being the flunky, the assistant on John McCain's Senate campaign.
Wow.
So it goes way back to that. And then, then more recently, I've done more Democratic candidates. But more than with politics, the prize really is the plum in the pudding, as they say, is the PAC committees or the political initiative spots where you do healthcare reform, or you do a gambling prop or something. A lot of that's done in California. A lot of that is done in different places. And so you're not dealing with politicians who generally don't have a lot of money. They have plenty of money if they fundraise properly to spend on putting it on the air. They never spend a lot of money on production, but the other people do. The other people that if you're doing, that kind of stuff. So it made it more interesting, and we did a lot of that kind of work. Yeah.
Where do you draw inspiration from for your creative work? Because you get a job, but you're given certain guidelines, and then you have to put yourself in it. Where do you draw, inspiration from?
Basically, you steal stuff. You look and see what everybody else is doing. Listen, everybody, that's not completely accurate, but certainly everybody shares from everybody else, and you're in one big community. The thing about commercials is it's not like a movie where you're tied up for a year or more doing it. Commercials, you're in, you're out.
Correct.
It's very predicated on style and visually what you want to do. So you have time to experiment. You're in this project 4 or 5 weeks, you're out, you're on something else. So there's always new challenges or new frontiers. So that always keeps your interest.
Right.
And And I have to say, honestly, the creative inspiration in this business is working with other creative people. I mean, that's what fuels the fire. I work with so many great creative people, so it just inspires you to, they bring a lot to the table, and then you want to bring a lot to the table too. So,
What's one of the biggest challenges you faced when creating an effective ad campaign or commercial or, you know?
the biggest
Yeah.
challenges of that is really, I mean, I'm not always, or for the most part, the guy that initiates the original idea.
Right.
The agency comes to me with that. And as I
Right.
said, with this small group of agencies that I would work with, I could depend on them because they were great collaborators.
Right.
They'd bring something, they said, what do you think? And coming to it as a writer
Right.
would allow me to write as well.
Right.
Now, I have done things where they've asked me to start from scratch or write it, but it's most of the time it comes to me with if not a fully formed idea, at least the beginning of an idea. So
Right.
the challenge is to make an effective piece of communication, really, in the end. It's not all about doing the most creative thing on TV. Everybody wants to be creative, but
The impact.
you have to sell an idea.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be a product. I mean, I've done commercials for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it was about selling the idea that it's not a great idea to drive drunk and what
Right.
it does to families when the worst things happen.
Right.
So whatever that message is, that's the challenge. Can you make it clear in 30 seconds? Life lives in 30-second cycles, and you've done enough commercials.
Now they're asking for 20 seconds. Have you heard?
Well, then there's always been cut downs. There's been 15s. There's been 10
Right.
bumper. There's been, yeah. And really, that's just a branding thing, just to get your name.
You have worked with a wide range of clients, from national corporations to nonprofits. Is your approach different depending on the client, or, how do you adapt?
No, I really, I couldn't say that the approach is ever different. I mean, it always starts out with a phone call or an email or something, back in the old days on the fax machine,
Right.
storyboards.
Right.
Storyboards would come in, scripts would come in, or just a call from someone that had, listen, I got an idea about
Right.
something. So how does the approach? The approach is to absorb as much of that project and what they're trying to accomplish and who's involved as you can. And then you go through the paces. I mean, you just, there's yeah.
What advice would you give someone today interested in a career in the film and advertising industry? Because
different things too. I
Yes.
mean, we
Yes.
have to be clear
know.
about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that I was able to cross over and do a feature film and a couple of other feature-related projects.
Right.
And that's it. So it all comes under the heading of production. It's film production.
Right.
It is production. So the young guy that comes to me and wants to get into advertising,
Right.
that's a different story.
animal. Mhm.
Most of the people that come for advice from me that would sit around our conference table at lunchtime with the young production assistants that say, how do I get more work?
Right.
How do I get further? How do I, how do I get into that? And
Do you find yourself sitting down with them and giving them information, or do you find?
sure,
Yeah,
always.
'cause there's
And they're
some
great.
people
It
that
was great.
don't.
It's great to, and when the young guys, the young girls and guys come in, the young PAs, you can spot the ones that are going to go. I mean, there's no question. You can just watch them, and the ones that are gonna
Make a name.
they're gonna make it. They're gonna
Yeah.
go, and many of them have gone on to huge things. My advice has always been, see, we were always based out of Philadelphia, and then for a long time LA, but especially with the kids in Philadelphia, it would be, can you go to New York? And even more so, do you got friends in LA? Can you go to LA? Can you sleep on their couch? Can you
Right.
sleep on their floor?
Right.
Because you just need to go where the work is.
Right.
It's all a numbers thing. You just need to go where you can work as much as possible. So yeah.
So, Curt, what is Greenie and what does it offer?
Greenie is an app that goes on your phone, mobile app, as some people say, but it's an app and it goes right on your smartphone, makes your smartphone smarter. And it was designed for those, and there are many out there that are concerned about climate change and what's being done and how they can help and how they can do their part. So we created this app that goes around in your pocket, and we can get into the various things that it does, but it's meant to be a tool.
What are some of the environmental issues that Greenie provides information on?
Well, everything. I mean, I think the most productive part of it is, or one of the headlining aspects of it is that there's a news feed on it. And with at least 3 times a week, another story is plucked from anywhere, wherever we find the best new article on what's going on. And so it keeps you updated. These news stories can be environmental, about what's going on environmentally, what's going on socially with different people that are involved or not involved, and politically, who's involved, who's not involved, where the lawsuits are. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot to
And
learn.
it's all international information, things that are happening all over. So I noticed that the website continually updates links to all the latest articles and videos and observations from scientists and environmental writers around.
And that would be in the news. There's 2 ways to find that. That's in the news feed. The news feed. I mean, if I went to the news feed just this week, and some of the stories that came from The Guardian, and another story came from Associated Press, that kind of, so they are coming from all over. But we want to be current. We want to be as current as we can with what's happening in the news. The other aspect of that is we have a section called activism on the site. And if you go to that, it starts out just by giving you things like the number to your congressman or your state representatives to be able to call and express what you're happy or not happy about. It also gives you the number to the White House, which most people can get. I'm not sure what kind of a reception you'll get when you call it, but you have that. And then it'll give you other more in-depth articles or features of things that have been done. And I'm just going to give you a couple things that have been posted in activism lately. There's an opinion piece from a guy that says, "I'm a climate scientist. If you knew what I know, you'd be terrified." And that's a little bit sensational, but there's other things like haunting underwater photos that portray climate change in a new way. And I'm sure these have to do with the barrier reefs and things that are going on. Worried about climate change, you can make a difference. And then they give you a how-to kind of thing. So it's all of those things that go beyond just the timeliness of whatever the local news story is, to give you ways to be involved. That's why it's
What are some of the everyday energy-saving tips? Can you give us a couple of those that Greenie provides and recommends?
Well, when you first come onto the app, it has little pop-ups that give you all kinds of things about, what turning your thermostat down 2 degrees or something, how much that can save you over the course of a month. But it not only gives you the energy savings, it gives you the money saved, the financial savings of it too. So we have a part of the app is called My Actions, and you're able to go in and take part in all these little things, and it gives you a running tally of how much money did you save, how much energy did you save, and then that combines them with everybody else. So you and everybody can be in a group, and you can, on an ongoing basis, see what you all are doing.
Carbon footprint.
Singularly and then collectively. and what it turns out to be on a monthly or even a yearly thing. So, I think, those are nice things. People want to have things that they can do, but the reality is, or what we've really found, I think, is the problem is so big now. People are looking for answers that go beyond, well, if I turn my printer off at night,
Right.
am I really saving the world?
Right.
Yeah. So we have to be realistic about, people are more concerned about what are we doing to limit the fossil fuel development? What are we doing to do carbon recapture in the atmosphere? What are the big things? Because there's glaciers and melting and polar caps melting. And I'm not sure that you telling me to turn off my computer or my printer is saving the world. But every little bit counts, and people want to know these things, and they want to teach their kids these things. So in that respect, it's helpful.
What is the National Forest Foundation, and how is it involved with Greenie?
This has been a given in the race to save the planet forever. Planting trees is just a good thing. The carbon capture, replacing trees that have been burnt, so we want to plant trees.
Right.
And the Forest Foundation does a great job of that. So we made it a part of Greenie, and we wanted it to be something that you could do, that you could use not just for yourself, but as a gift. We thought it was a great gift idea. And it's a great last minute gift idea, because if all of a sudden I forgot that it was your birthday,
right,
and I can go into my phone immediately and plant one tree or 5 trees or 10 trees and put it as a happy birthday to you.
Right.
And what will happen is a certificate will be made right while the whole thing is going on. It says, happy birthday, we just planted 5 trees to you. And then it could be texted or sent via email, or printed and framed, or do whatever you want of their certificate. So, and we find people do that not just as presents, but memorials.
Right.
And, we give you a whole list of things you can do. So we don't plant the trees.
Right.
The Forest Service plants the trees, but they do it on your behalf. So, yeah.
Is there anything coming from the forest that shows that these trees are planted? How do you
Well,
prove
people
that?
have asked that before. You just have to trust us. But it says on your certificate that it's been done by the Forest Service, and there's no reason to run a scam on this. We would just as soon see the trees get planted. Yeah.
How does Greenie's fundraising feature work? How does the fundraising part of it work?
There is an aspect, and I think I don't know if it's available through the app. It certainly is through the website, where we had the idea that different groups that are out to raise money, it could be your local kids softball team, or whatever. There's a million good things to raise money for. And there's the usual stuff. You can sell popcorn or cookies or all that kind of stuff. We said, well, you could also sell trees, and you could do it and raise money selling trees. So we just give them the sort of the resources and the guidelines and the blueprint to go out and do that. They can sign up through us, and we can help them go out. And we've had some groups that have been pretty successful. And it's a good thing to keep the kids involved with, because it makes them again more
But it's
aware.
whether the kids or corporations, etc. I mean, it's a great thing for fundraising if you attach that as well. I mean, you're doing a good thing.
I mean, there's no reason. If fundraising is a good thing anyway. If you're trying to sell popcorn for your kids' softball team, that's okay. But this is just one more thing, one more thing, and it's a little more environmentally conscious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. How long has Greenie been out there now?
We started this I think really just before COVID hit. We started putting it out there. And this was a very small homegrown project, so there was not a big sponsor behind this, and it really grew through word of mouth and social media as best it could. And yeah, that's and it look, climate change is not going to go out of style. It's
No.
not going to leave the headlines anytime soon. It's not going to leave the politics of what we're doing. So, there's the tortoise and the hare, and we may be the tortoise. We just keep on plugging with this. Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful app. And folks, Greenie, Greenie app can be found on the IG. The website is greenieapp.com. And please support, be a part of the movement that impacts us all, So listen up. I wanted to say, Curt, thank you very, very much for taking the time to come in, sit down with us. Really, really do appreciate you. Appreciate knowing about you, learning about you, and not only from the entertainment end, but to see that your interest in our climate and what you can do physically, not just talk, which a lot of people do, with your team or the rest of your team who's brought this thing to you, which we'll discuss on Inside the Call. So,
my pleasure. Thank you.
And to Cheese and the OTC team, thank you very much for spending your time being with us, being with me. Please guys, follow, drop a comment, support, donate, store, member page, where our members get to see and hear the exclusive other info not seen anywhere else. Appreciate your time very much. So please care to share. And remember, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street safely, be health conscious, kind to one another. And don't forget to give thanks for the little and big gifts as we strive towards this beautiful life. Till next.